Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to, cut through the noise and give you the core insights from some really groundbreaking ideas. And today, we're taking a bit of a shortcut, really, into a book that's caused quite a stir in spiritual circles. That's Gabrielle Bernstein's New York Times bestseller, Super Attractor: Methods for Manifesting a Life Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. So our mission, basically, is to unpack the main ideas, the concepts, and maybe some surprising bits from the book. We want to give you the essence of her message about, manifesting joy in abundance without you having to read cover to cover. And just so you know, we're pulling this straight from key parts and summaries of the book itself, so it's direct from the source.
Yeah, and just to set the scene a little, Super Attractor isn't like your typical self-help guide. Bernstein really positions it as more of a spiritual playbook. It's teaching you how to live really aligned with the universe, how to manifest your purpose, find joy, get abundance, but with ease. That's the key part. It's about stepping into this power you already have, not by pushing harder or stressing more, but actually by focusing on feeling better and trusting how things unfold. It's really like a manifesto, merging spiritual ideas with, practical daily life stuff. The aim to help you see miracles happen regularly and just embrace abundance like it's normal.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Let's get into the foundations. Bernstein's whole approach, it seems, starts with some pretty powerful inner work, strategies for reflection. And the first one, maybe the most fundamental idea she puts out there, is that joy is your natural state. Now, usually we think happiness is something we have to chase, right? Or earn. But she says something really different. Joy isn't external. It's like your default setting inside you already. It's about remembering that and getting back to it.
Exactly. And what's really crucial, is how she links that feeling, that joy, to your actual energy. Think of it like a radio frequency.
Yeah.
When you're feeling joyful, you're broadcasting this really clear, strong signal. That's what she calls the super attractor frequency. But if you're stressed or scared, it's like you're tuned into static, a weak signal. And her big idea is that you can consciously tune that internal dial yourself. It's about deliberately shifting your own frequency to match the reality you want, not just hoping, but actively aligning.
Right, actively aligning. And that idea of frequency.
Yeah.
That leads us straight into the next point, which honestly kind of flips things on its head for me. It's the idea that thoughts shape reality. And this isn't just, think positive and good things happen. It's deeper. She's saying your thoughts aren't just thoughts. They have an energy, a vibration. And the universe apparently is always mirroring that vibration back at you.
Precisely. So if you're constantly stuck in thoughts about fear or what you don't have or limitations, well, that's the frequency you're sending out. And that's exactly what life seems to reflect back in your experiences. But, and this is the key, if you consciously shift away from those low vibration thoughts, shift towards thoughts based in love, gratitude, abundance, it doesn't just make you feel better inside, it actually profoundly changes your external reality. This ties right into what she calls your inner power. This idea that you have this incredible control over your experience through your energy and focus. Like you're the CEO of your own emotional state, basically.
Okay, but how? How do you actually make that shift? Especially when you're stuck in a negative spiral. It sounds easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And she offers a really practical tool for exactly that. It's called the Choose Again method. It's pretty straightforward, really. 3 steps. First, you just notice the thoughts, the emotions, even the yucky ones. You don't fight them, just notice.
Yeah.
Compassionately.
Okay, notice, don't judge.
Exactly. Second, you sort of forgive the feelings, recognize they're just guides showing you maybe what's not working for you anymore. They aren't bad.
Forgive them. Interesting.
And then the third step, this is the active bit. You consciously choose again. You deliberately pick a thought or a belief that feels even just a tiny bit better.
Just a tiny bit better.
Yeah.
Not a huge leap.
No, that's the beauty of it. What's so fascinating is how this method is all about what she calls emotional recalibration. It shows you don't have to jump from feeling awful to feeling amazing instantly. That often feels impossible, right?
Totally.
Instead, it's about these small, gradual shifts, little upgrades in how you feel. And every one of those tiny shifts sends ripples out. It changes things over time.
Yeah.
It's empowering because it's something you can actually do in the moment.
Okay, that makes sense. Small shifts. And to help with that, she also has this emotional guidance scale.
Yes. Another fantastic tool. It's basically a scale with 22 steps. It maps out emotions from, the really low ones like despair or feeling powerless at the bottom, all the way up through things like boredom, then hope, optimism, right up to joy, enthusiasm, appreciation at the very top.
And what's the point of the scale? How do you use it?
Well, its purpose is super practical. First, it helps you pinpoint where you actually are emotionally right now. Just identifying it can be powerful. And once you know where you are, say you're feeling frustrated, which is lower down, you can then look at the scale and consciously aim for the next step up. Maybe that's just pessimism or even boredom, something slightly less intense.
Ah, okay. So you don't have to try and leap all the way to joy from frustration.
Exactly. You just reach for the next rung on the ladder. It makes progress feel achievable. It reinforces that idea of gradual positive change. Each little step up improves your frequency, signals you're moving in the right direction.
Right. Okay, so we've talked a lot about these inner shifts, tuning your frequency, choosing better thoughts. But how does all this internal work actually, show up outside? In our lives, relationships, getting stuff we want. Let's broaden out a bit to how this alignment stuff plays out in the bigger picture. And one thing she really stresses, which I think is a relief for a lot of us, is that small moments matter. You don't need these huge, dramatic breakthroughs or massive actions to manifest things.
Yes, that's such a key point she makes. Finding real joy or appreciation in just ordinary stuff, your coffee, a sunny moment, whatever, that's not trivial. It builds serious energetic momentum. Every little bit of positive feeling adds up. It creates this baseline of high vibration. And that consistent state, that's what acts like a magnet, drawing more good stuff, more ease, more of what you desire towards you. It's about building that joyful foundation first.
Okay, but what about the stuff that pulls us out of joy? Like jealousy, comparing ourselves to others, that's a big one.
Oh, yeah, a huge one. And she tackles it directly. She says you have to consciously let go of jealousy and comparison. Her insight here is really sharp. When you compare, especially focusing on what someone else has that you feel you lack,
Hmm.
you're basically shouting scarcity out to the universe with your energy. You're reinforcing the feeling of not enough in your own life.
Ouch. Okay. So what's the alternative?
The alternative she proposes is powerful. Instead of comparing, genuinely celebrate other people's wins, their abundance. When you do that, you're not just being nice, you're actually feeding the energy of abundance for yourself.
How does that work?
Because you're affirming that abundance exists. There's plenty to go around. That energy aligns you with your own path, your own good stuff. It shifts you from feeling lack to feeling possibility, expansion.
Okay, shifting from lack to expansion, that sounds quite spiritual. Which brings us to another concept. She talks about needing to lift the veil and reframe reality. What does she mean by that?
Well, this gets into the core spiritual aspect. She suggests life feels heavier, harder, more of a struggle when we forget our spiritual connection, when we lose touch with that deeper part of ourselves, the part that knows we're connected to something bigger than just this physical stuff.
So feeling disconnected makes things feel worse.
Pretty much. This idea of spiritual connection, it's central to her whole thing. When you maintain that awareness, even when things are tough, it just lightens your perspective massively. It's like pulling back a curtain and seeing there's this divine support, this order that's always there. And that shift, it opens you up to new ideas, solutions, ways of seeing things you totally miss if you were just focused on the problems. It's about remembering who you really are beyond the day-to-day grind.
And flowing right out of that is the next piece, learning to connect with spiritual guidance. She talks about intuition, gut feelings, maybe signs or synchronicities, even angels for some. She says this guidance is real. It's available.
Absolutely. And the emphasis is on cultivating that connection. It's not usually just going to shout at you. It's like a muscle you need to exercise.
How do you do that?
She suggests practical things. Meditation, obviously. Prayer, if that resonates. Or even just carving out quiet time. Time to still your mind and listen for those subtle nudges, those whispers, that inner knowing. It's about developing that sensitivity to the wisdom that's always trying to guide you towards what's best for you.
Okay, so we've got inner alignment, connecting spiritually. What about actually doing things, making things happen? This leads us into how these insights apply to action and also to receiving. And the first one here feels, well, it feels really backward to a lot of us, I think. It's surrender, don't control, letting go of forcing things. How does that help you attract stuff?
It sounds weird in our hustle culture, doesn't
Yeah.
it? But the idea is that trying to force a specific outcome, controlling every single detail, that often blocks things. Letting go actually allows the universe, or whatever you call it, to work for you, often in surprising ways you couldn't have planned.
So trust the process.
Exactly. Trusting divine timing. Releasing your death grip on how it has to look or when it has to happen, that helps you align effortlessly with what's truly meant for you. This is right at the heart of what she calls actions plus surrender. It's not about passivity, not doing nothing. It's about releasing the need to micromanage the universe, trusting a bigger plan, and allowing yourself to be surprised, maybe even delighted by how things turn out, often better than you imagine.
Okay, but you said it's not about doing nothing, so action is still involved.
Oh, absolutely. Surrender doesn't mean sitting on the couch waiting for $1 million to fall through the roof. Bernstein is very clear. Manifestation requires spiritually aligned action.
Spiritually aligned action, what makes action aligned?
Good question. There are a few key things she points out. First, check in. Does what you're aiming for serve a higher purpose? Is it genuinely uplifting for you and maybe others? Or is it just ego?
Okay, check the motivation.
Right. Then, and this is critical, you follow the feeling. Does taking a certain step feel expansive, joyful, exciting, even just mildly positive? Those feelings are like your breadcrumbs, your guidance system.
So you don't force yourself to do things that feel heavy or dreadful.
Ideally, no. You wait for that impulse of rightness, of joy, then you act on that. And finally, after you take those aligned steps, you let go again. You allow the universe to respond. You trust the outcome.
Follow the joy, take the step, let go.
Okay. Now, something that weaves through all of this, and we hear about it a lot, but she really emphasizes it, is gratitude and appreciation.
She talks about it not just as a nice thing to do, but as a seriously powerful tool, like an instant frequency booster.
How so? When you genuinely feel appreciation for what you already have, the big things, the tiny things, doesn't matter. It immediately lifts your vibration. And like we said, the higher your vibration, the more open you are to receiving more. More good stuff, more abundance, more aligned opportunities just flow in. It's directly linked to that gratitude and receiving theme. It basically creates this welcoming energy field for blessings.
Which brings us nicely to the final piece of the puzzle she outlines. After aligning, taking inspired action, being grateful, you actually have to receive gracefully, being open to letting the good stuff in, whether that's love, money, ideas, help.
Yes, and this is where people can stumble. Surprisingly often, we might be great at giving or working hard, but actually allowing ourselves to receive. Sometimes that feels uncomfortable.
Like feeling guilty or like you don't deserve it or you immediately owe something back.
Exactly those things. The book really stresses embracing receiving fully, without guilt, without resistance, without feeling unworthy. It's the completion of the cycle. You've put out the signal, taken the action. Now you have to let the universe deliver. Open the door and let it in.
It makes sense. You have to be able to receive the manifestation.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into Super Attractor, it's interesting to hear what resonates with readers. People talk about really learning to harness your spiritual potential, you know, and consciously transform your thoughts. And this core message of embrace joy and abundance.
And that idea of let the universe lead, trusting the power of appreciation, understanding patience and timing, those come up again and again.
Yeah, like that quote someone shared, any negative thought you can change. That feels empowering.
And the idea that feel good is the best way to manifest your desires, it simplifies things, doesn't it?
It really does. And trusting the universe means you can attract more by doing less struggle. Anyway.
Exactly. Super Attractor really presents itself as more than just tips and tricks. It's framed as this spiritual playbook. It's an invitation, really, to actively co-create your reality with the universe as a partner. And through these strategies, the inner work, the focus on joy, the promise is you can become genuinely magnetic for miracles.
Yeah, focusing on those inner shifts, trusting the flow. It makes that life beyond your wildest dreams feel maybe a bit closer, more possible than we thought.
Which really leads to a key question for you listening right now. If your thoughts do shape your reality and your feelings are that magnet, what's just one small, subtle shift you could make today, right now even, to start inviting in more of what you truly desire?
Yeah, think about that. How even the tiniest shift in how you feel or the perspective you choose, how that could start a whole new wave of attraction in your life. Definitely something to reflect on. Thanks for diving deep with us today.